Hello friends, and welcome to Ariel's Twilight Years, how to be a really old model. I'm in upstate Michigan this month and it's so lovely. There are all these long straight roads with just fields and woods either side. Everything's incredibly green and I love it. The reason I'm here is because I have been collaborating with my lovely BDSM friend Eric Kane. So we've been shooting some customs and I've been here for almost a week already. We've got 3 more customs to shoot. I'm very bruised. I've got rope marks all over me, but I'm having the time of my life because what I want to be is a BDSM model. So on weeks when I get to be purely just a BDSM model, it is really a pleasure. And I wrote about Eric in my memoir, Playing to Lose. There's a whole chapter on working with him because it is the most extreme comprehensive BDSM that I do. So, chapter 26, for those of you who have the book. If you don't have the book, the link is below in the notes because there are many things in that book about being a BDSM model and I am right in the middle of writing book 2. This month I'm answering your questions. I put a tweet out yesterday on Twitter for questions and people have sent questions in. So let's get started. Question 1 is a question in 2 parts. Part 1 is favourite way to be tied up. Well, sometimes I'd struggle to answer that question, I think, because I've been tied up in lots of different ways that I have very much enjoyed. But fortunately, this week I actually can answer because a tie I've wanted to do for years and years I have finally done. So it's been in my mind for a very long time. I've wanted to do a legs apart strappado over a table so that I'm bent over a table with my legs apart and then my arms are cranked up behind me. So if you can imagine it, I'd be a kind of Z shape. So my legs would be vertical, my body is horizontal, and then my arms come up at kind of 45 degrees. And this week for a custom, I managed to do it. So that will be coming to futilstruggles.com in due course. And it was just as good as I thought it would be. The reason I always wanted to try that position was because I thought it would be really great for spanking. And it was. So at the moment, that's the position I love the most. But now that I've done it, I dare say I will start having ambitions for positions I've not done yet. I always like a ball tie as well. I like reverse prayer because not everyone can do it. So I always feel like I'm adding value to the producer in a reverse prayer because it's got a little bit of rarity value and it's relatively comfortable for me. So is there anything else I particularly love? No, I think that's it. And still the legs apart strappado position is one that I still, even though now I've done it, I definitely want to do it again because I really liked it. And then the second part of the question is, what is my least favourite position? Oh, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want to kind of ruin anyone's fantasy for them. And just rest assured that just because I'm about to say that it's my least favourite, it doesn't mean I'm unwilling to do it. But my least favourite, as some of you might know because I've said it before, is a hog tie, which is a shame because it's a really common position. It's really popular. So on most bondage shoots, I would do at least one hog tie. And I've got a couple of reasons why I don't totally love them, even though I am perfectly willing to do them. And that's not to say I've always not enjoyed hog ties. You know, I have been in hog ties that I have enjoyed. So I have a couple of issues. One is just that to me, it doesn't strike me as the most sexual bondage position. Like, some of the things that I like to do or have happened to me in bondage aren't possible when you're in a hog tie. So it's not one of the kind of most obviously sexy positions to me. I don't feel particularly kind of vulnerable in it. And the other reason is simply that it gives me a headache. Not every hog tie gives me a headache, but no other bondage positions do this. And probably 70% of the time, as soon as I'm let out of a hog tie, I get this blinding, shooting, awful, really severe headache behind my eyes that normally only lasts a few minutes. But because I always know that's going to happen, or it's likely to happen, it makes me a little bit less relaxed when I'm in the hog tie because I'm worried about that. And I always think, because I don't really understand why it gives me a headache. It always makes me just a little bit worried. And sometimes it's much milder than that. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all. I've never really been able to work out what the variables are that sometimes give me this really bad headache and sometimes it doesn't. A couple of other models I've met have said the same. And so as a result, it's the only bondage tie where I'm sort of aware that the after effects might not be pleasant, whereas normally when I'm let out of bondage, I feel fantastic. So that's my answer, and I'm sorry it makes me feel so bad, because I think the other reason I'm not totally in love with hog ties is because they're so popular. I've been in them a lot, and so saying that I don't like them feels really bad. So I'm sorry. I'm still perfectly happy to be tied in a hog tie. Okay, here is my next question. So this is interesting. I would like to ask what you think about the notion of living by your wants not making you happy. I don't agree with that statement. I think for me, living by my wants has made me very happy. I don't know the origin of this argument, so perhaps it's a philosopher's argument, and I can imagine maybe someone who had a little bit of a puritanical sort of work ethic or a puritanical attitude to life would think that if you kind of indulge yourself doing the things you want to do, that's not the way to achieve happiness. But it seems to me that the alternative is to kind of ignore your instincts about what you want from life, and that just seems like a recipe for absolute misery and disaster. So, as I wrote in my book, trying to kind of deny the things I wanted to do, specifically to do with BDSM, made me extremely unhappy. I mean, desperately unhappy. And when I got to start doing the things that I feel as though I always wanted to do, and maybe I was even kind of, maybe it's in my DNA, these are the things I want to do, it's been a recipe for a great deal of happiness. Cutting people out of my life who have treated me badly has made me really happy. Spending more time with the people I like has made me more happy. I just can't see how living by your wants could possibly not make you happy, unless, of course, the things you want to do impact negatively on other people. Because, for example, if what you want to do is get drunk and drive round in your car, obviously that's going to end up impacting on other people's lives, then on yours, and it's going to end in disaster. So I can see, of course, there are exceptions, but as long as the decisions you're making are rational and the things you want to do don't destroy other people's lives, I feel like identifying the things you want and then doing them is basically the recipe for a happy life. Yeah, I feel a bit simplistic for thinking that's true, but I certainly do think it's true. Leo asks, what's your favourite place outside the UK to visit? I like the USA. I like most of the countries I've been to, because I've been very lucky. I've got to travel and go and do my job in lots of places with lovely people. So it's not like I've got a whole list of places I don't like. But I do really love the USA. I wanted to be an American when I was a child. I watched Grease, the movie, and I think I was 12 when I saw it, and I hadn't seen many movies in my life, and it just struck me that this was the best country in the world. And I used to watch planes flying overhead over our house when I was a child, and I used to imagine they were all going to the USA, and I used to imagine how amazing it would be to go. And I had a few friends who went to Disney World on holidays, and I was terribly, terribly envious of them, because I just felt as though America was the place to be, where everything would be kind of more exciting and bigger and better. And I came here, and I think 12-year-old me was right. I really love it. I love America. I love the beauty of the country, the variety, and I really love the people. I really love the food. Yeah, I love it. I would very, very happily live here. I mean, I would miss my own country, I'm sure, but if for some reason I had to relocate here and there was no choice, I would be delighted to do it. I don't know which bit I'd live in, because it's all so lovely. I think I might get an RV and just live in it and travel round and round and round the USA. So that's my answer. I've only been to Canada once, and I really loved that as well. I'm about to go back, so Canada might become a favourite as well. And in Europe, my favourite country is Holland. I really love the Netherlands, and again, if I had to relocate there, there would be a lot of things I would really like about living there. I think it's awesome. But I was someone who always wanted to travel and didn't expect to have the privilege of being able to do so extensively. So because I've ended up with more money than I was expecting in my life, I've consequently travelled far more widely than I ever expected, and I just absolutely love it. With your new book and other activities, you're achieving fame. Thank you for thinking that. Do you like it? Do you want to become a celebrity? Now, I know what you're meant to say when people ask you questions like this. Because you're meant to say, no, I don't want to become famous. I just want to succeed in my field. But the fact is, if I'm totally honest, if people recognise me on the street, which hardly ever happens, it's happened like 5 times in my life probably, I absolutely love it. And I don't really understand intellectually, I don't understand emotionally why anyone wouldn't like it. Because being recognised for a thing that you do that you're proud of and you love, it just feels like it's a no-brainer. How could anyone not love that? I really like it. And I suppose, just like a lot of people, I was growing up in the 90s, I was very affected by celebrity culture, and I thought there couldn't be anything nicer than being famous. And even though I am now aware of some of the really hideous downsides, because celebrities, some of them have been so open about talking about what fame did to them, intellectually I understand that. But emotionally, yeah, if I got recognised sort of twice as much as I do now, I'd like that. I think if I got recognised 4 times as much as I did now, I'd like that. I mean, I feel like I'd like it if it was 100 times as much as now. I feel like the best kind of being famous is if you're only famous in one country, so you can kind of enjoy the benefits of being famous, but all you need to do is go on holiday and no one knows who you are. I think I might very much enjoy that, I'm afraid, because I think I'm egotistical enough to like being recognised. I can understand that worldwide fame seems to come with a huge number of very serious disadvantages. I guess I wouldn't like the reality, but even as I'm saying that, I feel like I would. I would like as much recognition as is possible for me to get. I'm so sorry to say that, I feel so vulgar. And a large part of it is just for myself, I'm sure I'm not selfish, but also being given respect and recognition for doing a job like mine, which is rather stigmatised. I also do think that if some sex workers do get a bit of kind of mainstream success and recognition, and not just for something bad happening to them, then it's probably quite good for all of us. Haha! I'm so embarrassed. What do you most enjoy about bondage? And on average, how long are you tied up for? What I like most about bondage is definitely the feeling of vulnerability. So I know for some people it's the feeling of restriction, and that doesn't particularly do anything for me. It's the feeling of being vulnerable to somebody else. So being tied up on my own, for example, is completely meaningless to me. It only means something if there's someone there who might do something to me while I'm tied up. That's what I like about it. So it's the disadvantage it gives you in comparison to someone else who's there who isn't tied up. It's the imbalance of power. That's what I like about it. And how long on average am I tied up for? Well, at photo shoots, on average, I'd be in the full tie for sometime between 15 and 20 minutes. It's very rare to be fully tied up for more than about half an hour at work, and the longest I've ever been in one position is probably 45 minutes, and that's probably kind of the limit, because unless it's extremely comfortable bondage, like, you know, leather cuffs and chains, after a while your hands start to go numb, or your feet start to go numb, or both, or you start to be in pain from one thing or another. So I always want to make sure people know that bondage models can't just magically stay tied up for as long as you want them to. We're just people, and people cannot be tied up for extended periods without something starting to hurt or go numb or affect them in some physical way. And in real life, in my personal life, I don't really do the kind of bondage that I do at photo shoots. So the sort of bondage I do in real life probably I could be in for longer, because it's much less comprehensive, much less demanding than the stuff I tend to do at work. What is your favourite science fact? My mind has gone completely blank of any science facts at all. There might be a pause in the video while I consider the answer to this. Science. I don't have a favourite science fact. I can't think of any science facts except for extremely boring ones, and I'm certainly not going to pretend one of those is my favourite. I don't have a favourite science fact. It makes me feel like a failure, but I don't. Sorry. And finally, what is the topic of your next book going to be, and how soon can we get it? This is my favourite. I'm so excited about this. Okay. So, my next book, I'm in the process of writing it at the moment, and it is a diary about this year. And so I'm writing about everything that happens this year that I think is interesting from a BDSM model perspective. And it's lovely because it means that I can't really plan what I'm going to write because I don't know what's going to happen. And it also has given me this weird kind of perverse incentive this year to make sure exciting things happen. And obviously some exciting things can be good, but I also have this awful instinct to let some bad things happen because it will give me something to write about. I'm trying to ignore that instinct because I think it's very dangerous. So hopefully I will write about lots of nice, exciting, bondagey things that happened to me this year, but also to tell the stories of some of the people who I care about, who come into contact with me in this year, to tell the stories of some of my custom video customers, some of my producers and photographers. So I hope what it's like is like a zoomed in version of my first book, because my first book had to cover 46 years of my life, and it was quite a race to get through all of that. So this book is much more zoomed in on the kind of smaller but really interesting things that go into this industry, working in this industry, doing this job, living as a professional kinky person. So it won't be finished till the end of the year because, of course, it's a diary. It can't finish until the year finishes. So it's a bit of a slower project than my first book. And once I've finished it, I will start looking for agents and publishers like last time. So hopefully that will be an easier ride because I know more and I am a known quantity, a somewhat more known quantity. So I hope it won't be such a slow process. And if I can't find a publisher who I want to work with, I will self-publish it because I know a lot more about that now as well. So I imagine it won't be out until towards the end of 2025, I'm sad to say. But I'm loving writing about it, and I will of course share all the associated writing I do around it. So I'm sure there'll be lots that I will cut out, which I will share with everyone once I've edited the book and I've cut out some of the stuff that will make the book too long. So I'm very much looking forward to having another book out in the world, and I'm sorry it won't be particularly soon because the project I've chosen to write just is a bit of a time-consuming one. So those are my answers. Thank you very much to everyone who sent a question in. It's very nice to answer them. I will of course do another of these in the future, so if you have any questions, please do add them to the comments below this video. I will be back with more. I don't know which country I'll be in next time I talk to you because post-COVID, travelling modelling work has picked up again, so I am being a little bit more international and having a lovely time doing it. So I will see you soon. Thank you as always. Please like, subscribe, comment. I've turned off comments so that they have to be approved because I started getting spam from incels. I will approve your comment unless it's absolutely deranged. So please do comment and they will appear in due course. Thank you as always for listening. It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from upstate Michigan. Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye bye. Bye bye.